Alright, here we are. I'm back from Ireland, and I have just about the most legendary case of jet lag ever experienced, and I still have to go to Canada tomorrow. But I finally got to see The Dark Knight Rises, which, again, I was in Ireland, so I didn't have a chance to go see it. Although it was fun. It was perfect. I don't regret going to Ireland or anything like that. It was just I was so busy there was no opportunity to go see it. But finally did. I had about a day to rest and get back to this. So apparently this is Miles' second time seeing it, so apparently it was good enough. He was willing to go back. But I've heard a lot of mixed reactions on this one. So what were you paying more attention to that than I did? You probably read on some forums about how it was. Some people thought it was disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't really read it. It's just some were saying it's too dark. There's not enough.
Too dark, really.
In tone, not visually, but
Batman.
but I saw it with my friends, my coworkers, and I kind of got their reaction. They liked it, but I kind of gave you the warning or a kind of preparation before going in, and that you need to view this as a character movie. You cannot view this as Batman wrecks people's shit.
Yeah, this is going to be huge spoilers, but then again, almost everyone saw the movie before I did, so whatever. This is a different movie than I think was advertised. I honestly think the movie's trailer was a little misleading, and it's good that you kind of buffered me against it, because I might have been kind of thrown by that had you not told me that. It's a different movie, especially just coming off The Dark Knight, which was a very action-packed movie. And that's not to say this one isn't an action movie, but it's a very different flick in that Batman is in it very little. Considering in The Dark Knight he's in virtually every scene, except him and the Joker.
I'm just purely guessing. I was saying about 10 minutes in the first half, and maybe 30 minutes in the second half with the whole action climax going on.
And the reason he's in it very little is because this takes place, I think, like 7 years after the whole incident with the Joker. And Bruce Wayne has just completely retired from being the Batman because, one, he's basically brought out like an era of peace in Gotham, at least relatively speaking. He's brought down the entire mafia, and the lie they've told about Harvey Dent has essentially, they passed the Harvey Dent Act, which has put all the felons that were taken in by the law that no parole. So they built Blackgate Prison, and there's like 1,000 people in there, no parole. So basically, crime is largely eliminated to the point where like the cops are going to Commissioner Gordon and they're like, "Hey, you want us to go bust truant students?" So that was actually kind of weird how Gotham has kind of become like this utopia. But eventually, of course, this criminal named Bane makes his appearance known, and he's for years apparently, or maybe months, has kind of recruited what remains of Gotham's underground along with his personal army of, I think, mercenaries. I'm not sure where they came from, but let's just say they're mercenaries. And he's kind of been building an army in the sewers of Gotham. And eventually he kind of makes his presence known. And what actually gets Batman on the case at Bane? Because
it's Catwoman takes Bruce Wayne's prince.
Oh yeah, it was Catwoman stealing his prince and from the safe, and like there's some guys who want to get it, and so yeah, that puts him on the trail of Bane, which is a trail he really shouldn't have gone onto because one, Batman's body is physically wrecked. That's essentially why he quit. Just because he's been fighting crime for so years, and because in the Nolanverse things are way more realistic. It's often been asked for people who have been critical of the comics, like anyone who endured that much physical punishment would be a cripple by now. Well, Bruce Wayne is essentially a cripple in this movie, which doesn't help him much in his fight against Bane, as you soon see. So he corners Bane, or Bane corners him rather, and they have the fight. Now, this is a little different from the comics in that in the comics, Bane is actually very intelligent. He wears Batman down by releasing all the inmates in Arkham, so he has to go track them down, and so he goes like a week without sleep. And then Bane attacks him. like right on the lawn of Wayne Manor, and then that's when you get the breaking the bat scene, one of the most iconic and enduring moments in comics. So in this case, Bane is just straight up better. You know, he's built like a brick shithouse. And by the way, Tom Hardy like fucking bulked up like the Incredible Hulk for this role. No, you watch Inception, he might be, you know, I guess he's a big guy, but fuck me, he's not that big.
One of his first roles was Bronson, which he played this big burly
Yeah,
bastard
you're
in
right.
prison. So I kind of saw it, but he looks bigger.
He looks fucking huge. I guess in Inception he just wore really nice tailored suits, because the size in that movie, you don't ever get that, because you don't see Tom Hardy in Inception and go, shit kicker, you know. Like, so, you know, the comic purists, I think, might be kind of weirded out by that, the fact that, you know, Batman is this essentially a cripple. And it you know, it made sense to me, and so that's the first thing that's kind of disappointing, where he's kind of walking on a cane, and you know, he's become this complete recluse ever since he hung up the cowl, and he's really not even willing to go out anymore and do anything, because there's kind of no reason. And so that really is the entire crux of the movie, or at least the character crux of the movie, is ever since he gave up the crusade, so to speak, he physically couldn't continue it. He's tried as Bruce Wayne to improve Gotham City and improve the lives of anyone he can help by, you know, charities and stuff like that, funding boys clubs and you know, orphanages and all this stuff, trying to basically build Gotham's infrastructure and charity work. And so essentially Bruce Wayne has essentially sank his own company into this. And so, sorry, Oreo's got a squeaky toy. I'll try to take it away. I know we're not paying attention to you. Here we go. Sorry, I know she's distracting, but you know, Bruce Wayne has essentially tanked his own company, throwing it all into charities, because this is the only way he can help people and kind of honor his parents' memory, because he can't physically do it anymore. So, you know, it's that already. I think the audience is kind of like, if you were expecting a Batman movie later, oh, what the shit is this? Like, he's not doing Batman shit. He's locked himself in a room and he's growing a wicked beard and he's probably peeing in mason jars, like they said, you know. So eventually, you know, Bane starts. He has to get on the case because somebody wants his fingerprints, and he figures it has something to do with this gigantic fusion reactor that he's building. And then when he realized what it could be used for, he immediately shut the project down, which apparently is really what tanked his company. You know, didn't that cost like half his company to build this energy project? So I think he figures pretty early on that, you know, something bad's going to come of this invention, and that's where he kind of gets in the suit. But Oreo, you're killing me with this shit. Come here. So, where the fuck was I even? The fucking squeaky toy. You're just killing me, Oreo. Where was I? Oh, the fusion reactor, right. So, he finally gets in the Batman suit, and he realizes he can't really hack anymore, because even his arms are, like, completely shut. So, apparently, like, Lucius Fox builds him, like, these really cool super braces on his knees. They never actually say that. He just kind of, like, throws a brace on his knee that he's like, ah! And he can kick through concrete now, and he's fucking cool. Oreo, it's just because we don't pay attention to you during the videos. That's it, isn't it? You're like, you're talking to people, and you're not talking to me. I will squeak things now. So, you know, I think there's actually kind of a false sense of security in Batman now, where he kind of gets in the swing of things, he beats up some thugs, and then Bane just straight up whips his ass. And yes, if you haven't seen it yet, they do have the iconic scene where Bane, like, lifts his ass up and does the backbreaker, and you're kind of waiting for that moment, you know. I think Nolan was kind of obligated to throw it, because they're like, no, if he hadn't done that, fucking fans would have rioted. They'd be like, there's no breaking the bat scene, fuck this shit, because you have Bane, and why didn't you do Bane if you didn't break his back? And they do that, okay. So then the movie, there's no Batman in that movie anymore, until the very, very end. And so, again, you can see why people get thrown by this, because now the movie essentially focuses on Catwoman and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Officer Blake, who's in the Gotham City Police, and Gordon. So, you know, Gordon's kind of this guy who begs Bruce Wayne to come back, and that's really why he kind of gets.
It takes a weird semi-apocalyptic turn to where people have compared it kind of like to Escape from New York, where just Gotham turns into this shithole.
Well, yeah,
and I was so surprised that it was something on that big of a scale, but also that it worked in the story. I wasn't calling bullshit to a...
Yeah, I mean, Bane...
Yes, it's fantastical, but within this world, it works.
Yeah, Bane had a much bigger plan than simply, like, terrorism or fighting the Batman. You know, in the comics, Bane's plan was pretty much kill Batman. You know, I don't think he had much bigger than that. And really, Bane's character has been completely neutered in the comics anyway, because once, you know, Batman beat him, there really was no point in Bane anymore. You know, he got beat. But in the comics, he actually has a very sophisticated plan, which I think is actually surprising even Batman, because, like, in the comics, Bane is brilliant. He's this big fucking luchador dude, but he's fucking brilliant, because he figures out Bruce Wayne is Batman, like, right on his own. You know, and so that's actually why he shows up on the fucking lawn of Wayne Manor and just basically calls him out. You know? So Bane is actually a really brilliant guy. He sounds funny in this movie. You don't expect him to.
He sounds like Sean Connery.
No, he doesn't sound like Sean. He doesn't sound like Sean Connery. He's got this British accent. He sounds like Ian McKellen to me. He's like, Frodo Baggins, your punishment must be more severe now.
Oh no, I was more imagining him on Celebrity Jeopardy, like, Trebek.
The game is mine! No, to me he sounded like Gandalf, because he was like, when the Shire is in ashes, you have my permission to... You got me doing the Sean Connery. It's like, Bilbo Baggins! When the Shire is in ashes, I have no memory of this place. By the way, they showed a trailer for The Hobbit. Or The Hobbit Part 1.
Part 1 of potentially 3.
No, yeah, they're talking like Peter Jackson wants to crank out 3 movies of this shit. And I actually told you I could see it being done. Which is surprising considering, you know, of course The Hobbit is a comparatively short novel compared to the rest of the Lord of the Rings series. So it might strike you as funny at first that you're like, 3 movies? Really? I think he's probably going to do it in 2. But yeah, I still, because there's really like 3 main phases of that story, where they run afoul of the elves, they fight the dragon Smaug, and then there's this whole thing where, you know, they've got Smaug's hoard, and now what do they do with it? Because they got all this money, but they can't move it, you know. So there's 3 sections to that. I guess you could say it's like you take it in one, it's a 3-act movie, but I could see 3 movies. I could. Anyway, so after the breaking of the bat scene, it really is a tonal shift where Bane essentially unleashes his plan to take over Gotham, which he does, because he's got this plan to essentially trap the police, you know, keep them out of the game, and then he turns Gotham into basically an anarchist state, where he's just like, well, the cops are gone, do as thou wilt. And by the way, if you try to escape or fight me, I'll blow up the fusion reactor and wipe out the entire city, by the way. So, from then on, for about an hour and a half, we are following Commissioner Gordon and Officer Blake as they are dealing with this crisis. And I can easily see fans almost rioting over this, where they're like, there's no Batman in this movie! And I think I think the trailer was a little misleading, because you're thinking like, oh, it's going to be Batman and Bane just fucking throwing down for 2 hours, and it's not that. There's a lot to it in the sense that, you know, Batman is this, they're dealing with the aftermath of Harvey Dent, which is like one of the first things that Bane exposes, and essentially encourages the anarchist shift, because in a way, you might not believe that everyone in Gotham kind of turns anarchist overnight until he exposes the lie about Harvey Dent. You know, so they can't trust the cops anymore, and they can't trust Harvey Dent, which was the symbol of, you know, everything good and just in that city. Now you can believe that, you know, the city essentially just fucking throws their hands up and becomes this essentially half of them become Bane's army, you know. And so, yeah, Commissioner Gordon and the cop, they're basically trying to find the fusion reactor through a bunch of this movie, and occasionally, like, Bane doesn't kill Bruce Wayne. He throws him in the same pit that he was in because, you know, he was born in this hellhole it's impossible to escape, and so he's fucking badass because he's fucking prison strong. Or he spent like the entirety of his life just fucking pumping iron. He's that guy, you know. He's like fucking 300 pounds of solid beef. So, and he's like, you know, I don't want to kill you. I want to fucking break you. So, like, he basically puts a TV on and lets him watch the news as Gotham just kind of descends into chaos. Now, that's where I thought Bane's motivation becomes a little foggy. Like, it's never explained why really he cares about the Batman. You know, like, you know, Batman's in his way, sure, but why doesn't he just kill him? Like, why is he so intent on torturing the motherfucker? Like,
because he's ultimately a pawn of...
Yeah, okay, because you can see... Because he's all pissed off that he beat Ra's al Ghul and he essentially betrayed the League of Shadows. Okay. It still is a little weak, I thought. You know, in the comics, they basically give a good reason. No, it's an okay reason where, like, he wants to straight up beat the Batman. You know, he wants to take, you know, he's like, Gotham is my city. And that's kind of what Bane in this movie is doing. He's like, Gotham is my city, which I will nuke. So, yeah, so it's like, he wants to make this ideological point of, like, some kind of basis of anarchy, and then he just wants to nuke the city. So, like, it's a weird little plan he's got, and ultimately it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It does and it doesn't, you know what I mean? He's kind of got this fucked up mentality where he's like, I want the people to suffer before they die, you know.
There's essentially two parts to it. One is that, yes, Gotham will just be destroyed.
Yeah.
As part of the League of Shadows plan. The first part is just an extended fuck you to Batman.
Yeah, he wants
to show them that the people of Gotham are just utterly unrepentable, you know, completely worthless, that should be destroyed.
Yeah, he's basically got Ra's al Ghul's agenda, but in this case, he wants to not only kill all of it's not just a personal thing against Batman, it's against, like, the entire city, because he's like, the best way to, you know, he's like, I can't torture you physically because you don't care, but I can torture your soul. And so, like, he not only wants to torture Batman, but he's like, I'm going to give these people, you know, hope of escape. I'm going to give them a hope of, you know, disarming this bomb, only so I can take it away from them and kill them anyway. You know, so he's just got this massive hate on for fucking Gotham City. So, you know, I get it. It's just a little ill-defined in that, you know...
It's a long way to go fuck with people.
It's a long way to go. Like, you know, why he just wants to fuck with people when he could just fucking nuke the city. He really could. Because it's not like he's not even really interested in recruiting people to his cause. You know what I mean? He's got these dudes who are fiercely loyal to him to the point they will, like, suicidally waste themselves. And I'm not really sure why that is. Again, so it's like a few things in this are a little ill-defined, but there was always a few things in every movie that were a little vague. Like, for instance, the whole lie about Harvey Dent doesn't make any sense. None of that makes sense. Okay, so Harvey Dent basically becomes Two-Face, and he snaps psychologically. So he kills a bunch of cops. He kills a bunch of mafia dudes, corrupt cops. He threatens Commissioner Gordon's family, and so Batman takes him out. And they're like, well, we can't tell people that Harvey Dent, snapped and killed all these people. It would ruin everything. It would ruin every prosecution that Harvey ever did. It would crush the soul of Gotham. And so they agree to lie and say that Batman killed all these people. They're like, there's no one else we can blame for this. What about the Joker? the guy who put those fucking bombs on the ferries crossing the water, and who fucking killed a bunch of cops and like blew up the police station and like fucking shot up the charity ball and kidnapped several people. I'm like, blame the Joker. The Batman doesn't need to be the bad guy here. They're like, we need someone to pin this on. If not Harvey, I'm like, I just busted this green-haired motherfucker. Was anyone really going to question that? Especially like 5 bodies out of the dozens that the Joker killed. So that was always like the one thing about the Harvey Dent lie that didn't make any sense. But really, in this case, it's a minor point. It's just kind of this one more thing that Bane uses to kind of snap the soul of Gotham. But yeah, there's basically the entire second act of the movie is just watching Gotham degenerate into this horrible state, and Bruce Wayne physically destroyed and is slowly getting psychologically destroyed because he knows he can't take Bane. He knows he's already been beaten by him, and he knows he can't protect Gotham. Because he was physically wiped out before. And how does he stop this guy? Well, he can't. He has to escape from this prison first. He wants to. He really fucking wants to, but he can't. And the third act is essentially his recovery, where they punch his spine back into working order, which I thought was weird too. No, the guy's like, he's like, oh, you have a vertebrae out of place. Here, lean up. And then he's like, yeah, I'm sure that helped.
I hope that works.
He's like, I punched your vertebra back into place. You're not paralyzed anymore. I'm like, okay.
You have testicular cancer?
Yeah, and punch you in the nuts. It should be okay now. I have healing hands.
It is alright now.
My hands are strong. But yeah, it works because I guess he just needed really violent chiropractic. So, eventually he rises up and escapes, and it's this big kind of triumph of the will, where he finally, musters the will to...
Well, it's this whole character arc, Alfred comes up to him, and he's just like, you know what? You got this whole death wish thing going on that I just can't follow
Yeah,
with
he's like, you hung up the cape. You don't need to do this anymore.
You hung up the cape, and supposedly that was supposed to be it, but you turn into this William Randolph Hearst. You couldn't get over it, and now there's another threat, and you just want to die. And it's like, I can't go with this.
Especially since Alfred does the research and is like, Bane is going to straight up whip your ass. Because you're 39, you're physically washed up, this dude is a fucking beast. And so he's like, you're just going out, you're just putting the fucking cape on so you can go out there and eventually just get wasted because you've got nothing else. And that's the character arc of the movie. It's exploring Bruce Wayne. It's actually a Bruce Wayne movie. It's not a Batman movie. You said that, where he's hung up the cape and now he's just got nothing. That was all he had, was to fight for Gotham, and the only way he knows how to do that is for charities, and that hasn't worked. He's running out of money, and the one big project he was trying to do, the fusion reactor, is a complete bust. So. He's just kind of sealed himself in his room because he's got nothing else to do. And that's the movie, is him, he gets back on the streets, but that's really not the point. He is trying to essentially, ultimately sacrifice himself because he doesn't know how to live his life anymore. And I'm like, that's pretty good. So, in the third act, he does return, but it's really more to inspire the people of Gotham to retake their city. Because, he breaks the police out of... They've been sealed in a tunnel. He breaks the police out. He kind of inspires Gordon and the other guys to, have plans to evacuate the city as best they can. He basically recruits Gordon to find the bomb, which is, the major thing. He's like, we need to find the bomb and jam the signal. You're Gordon, you take it. I'm going to fight Bane. And so, it really is part of the point that he's a figure as an inspiration to Gotham, and less the ass kicker that he used to be. And I thought that really worked for this movie. And so you do get the final match with Bane, where apparently Bane's weakness is getting punched in the face a lot. Which I would have thought Batman would have figured out. But Or I would have thought Batman would cheat, because I'm like, you could just shoot Bane in the face and he'd be dead. But that's not how Batman rolls, And actually, they include a scene that kind of explains that. Like, why didn't you just shoot Bane? So, like, Catwoman is fucking shooting people, and he's like, no guns, no killing. And that Cat was like, you fucking serious? He's like, yes. And he keeps... So, Batman, he's not into the whole guns thing. He's just not. He'll punch you in the face. When, really, the whole problem could have been solved if Batman just brought a fucking sawed-off shotgun in the room. There's no more Bane.
I found your weakness.
Fire.
Bullets.
Yeah, flamethrower, that killed you. And what's funny is he's like, no guns, no weapons. Hang on, I'm gonna get in my motorcycle that has these fucking huge rocket launchers. And he starts, hang on, I got missiles in my helicopter, that's awesome. Which I always thought was the big problem with the Tim Burton Batman. Tim Burton Batman would just fucking kill you.
Yeah, he'd straight up murder your ass.
He'd straight up fucking kill you. Like... There's that one scene in Batman Returns with this fucking clowns fighting him. He, like, shoves this stick of dynamite down the clown's pants and then, like, kicks him down a sewer and walks away. And what's funny is the guy explodes and Batman kind of is like...
Not even that. He sends the in the first movie, he sends the Batmobile into Axis Chemicals.
And then just blows the fucker up.
He blows, like, 24 people up inside of a chemical plant. Probably sends a toxic cloud all through Gotham.
Yeah, he blows up a fucking chemical plant.
I see no repercussions of blowing up a chemical plant.
And then when the Joker's doing the parade, he's like... I'm just doing the Christian Bale voice. He's like, oh, Joker's doing a parade. I'm gonna get in my bat plane and machine gun that motherfucker. And so he gets in the bat plane and like just fucking charges him, shooting Vulcan cannons. And he misses completely. I don't know how the fuck he missed. And then he shoots like rockets. He's like, ah! And he misses.
He needs to go to Lucius. Man, I can't hit one person standing in the open.
Especially, even they did this thing where like the computer like locks in on him. It's like, boop, 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 boop. And they're like, Joker's like, ah! And he just misses. I'm like, he just straight up tried to machine gun. It's like he would have put like 400 rounds in that asshole. That would have been a great end.
That would have been a great. Just cut the. He gets like RoboCop where he gets littered with bullets.
Yeah, that'd be the great end of the movie. Where
there's nothing but just blood packets spraying all over the place, and then credits.
And, like Jack Nicholson is like, "Come on, you gruesome son of a bitch, come to me." And then Bruce is like, well, that's done.
Call that bat signal if ever you need me.
Yeah, it's like, I fucking solved that one, no problem. Fucking Joker's gone. What was so hard about that? So, yeah, that's Batman. And, well, actually, it's funny how Bane ultimately gets taken out, which is exactly, I was like, well, that was easy. Wonder why we did that shit before. So, yeah, that's really the point of the movie is Bruce Wayne's death wish. He has no idea how to move on with his life, and eventually he finds a way, or not. He finds what he has to do, and part of that is passing on the mantle. Part of that is finding a girl who can tolerate his presence. He tries, and that doesn't work out, and then he's so. So the things that I like.
Furthermore, appreciated the fact that there is a series that finally went somewhere with an arc. One of the things I hate, and one of the reasons I don't read comic books anymore, is character arcs are like this. Even when things change, that someone pulls out an eraser and goes, there you go.
It's what I call the status quo effect, where no matter what happens, they have to fix it to where it always stays the same.
So if it's one thing I love about this series is you get the beginning, you get the middle, and you get the conclusion. You get the whole arc.
Well, they wrap up the story of the Batman, to where it makes sense. It's not like Batman is always going to be this guy fighting supervillains. His entire purpose in the Nolan movies anyway was really to inspire people to, take back their city, which he does, in a literal sense in this case. But, the status quo effect in comic books
and to a big degree the other Batman movies, you know, the Tim Burton and Schumacher, is, you know, he's just this goofy guy with a lot of gadgets, and he's always just kind of on call fighting supervillains. That's not what this is, even though The Dark Knight was a little more like that. But, you know, I thought that... I actually, when they first announced Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, I didn't really see it, but she was good in this movie. I liked her character just fine. Even actually, I want to talk about the status quo effect, because there's a lot of examples very recently of how that was done. Spider-Man with the whole One More Day thing, which
not
is
just the comics, but the new series.
Yeah, you know, they've rebooted Spider-Man, and essentially nothing has changed. With Spider-Man and One More Day, they've rebooted the character of Spider-Man by writing out Mary Jane Parker to the degree that I don't know if there's ever been a more hated character in comics that's been pushed down the fans' throats as much as Carly Cooper, who essentially was Peter Parker's girlfriend to replace like Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane. They're like, no, we got this really cool character, and she's what did I just say? Carly Cooper. You know, Carly Cooper is so fucking cool. She was rammed down our throats more than John Cena ever was. You know, she was that bad. People fucking hate Carly Cooper. And so yeah, they rebooted Spider-Man, which was one of those things where, you know, people loved Spider-Man, and that was one of the few characters that ever just demonstrated any growth. You know, he got older. His job changed. His life changed. His girlfriends changed because he had to deal with this secret life. So, you know, then they rebooted him, and like it really is a slap in the face of comic readers, because, you know, I understand why they do reboots is to attract new readers. It's very intimidating to jump in the middle of a character arc. But it's a slap in the face of people who have been following the stories for this long, only to have everything they've grown to know and care about the characters just stopped and rebooted. You know, it really sucks. And DC is horrible about this. Just horrible. With, you know, the New 52, the latest series of reboots, and even before that, basically all the Crisis, you know, comics are full reboots. And there's basically no reason to care about the New 52. There's been like 2 comic series that were at all worth reading, and one of them was like Demon Knights, which has nothing to do with the DC universe at large. It's like this medieval type thing that follows like Etrigan and, you know, the demon Etrigan and all these other like basically wizard characters. But yeah, that's what you're talking about with the status quo effect, is like there's never any change. And actually going back to DC, they've never changed the Batman. The one hope we had was when they did the Death of Batman, or what was it called? It wasn't the Death of Batman, but it was like, okay, it was Final Crisis, where they kill Batman. Like fucking Darkseid kills him with the Omega Sanction or whatever, the Omega rays that come out of his eyes. They fucking kill him, and then you knew it wasn't gonna stick. You knew it. You were hoping it would. It's not because we wanted to see Batman die. It's because we wanted evolution of the character. And so there was actually a very clear evolution of the character, that there'd be a new Batman, and that Batman was always going to be Dick Grayson, who Nightwing was. And so, you know, that was always, and so Dick Grayson takes over the Bat, and we're still like, it's not going to stick. It's not. And then they start doing this thing where, like, apparently Darkseid was like, he sent him back in time to live all his reincarnations. Like, apparently there's been a Batman in every period through history. Yeah, there was, like, a pirate Batman who wore, like, a pointy-eared pirate hat. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. So, like, you know, they have this thing where, like, Bruce Wayne relives every incarnation until he gets to the present, and they actually, like, Superman has to stop him from getting back to the present, because if he does, the world explodes or something like that. Try to imagine every cell in your being exploding at the speed of light.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. Important safety tip, though. So yeah, the status quo thing, and that's not what you get from the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Is Bruce Wayne has a very definite beginning, middle, and end.
They are gonna reboot this.
Yeah,
I've already told. I can already guarantee you that there's going to be a new movie. I'll say in less than 4 years.
Oh yeah, they'll do it. Either they'll do a reboot or they'll try to continue the story of the Batman in
I highly doubt that.
They might, because Christopher Nolan won't be back for this. He said he's done. Although
he and everyone else in this movie pretty much said they're done.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of guys who have said that. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, well, this is a bad example maybe, but Hideo Kojima has said he's been done with the Metal Gear series like twice now. And so he did. Then he was like, okay, Metal Gear Solid 4. He always gets an idea. He's like, oh, I got a great idea. Metal Gear Solid 4. Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. Because it's not just getting one vengeance. Sometimes you have to revengeance the original vengeance if they didn't learn their lesson.
Of course.
You revengeance them. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess I want to go into... I should point out the things I really liked and the things I didn't like so much. I really like Tom Hardy as Bane, if even the voice was a little strange. The evil muscle-bound Gandalf thing. It takes some getting used to. I'm like...
I had a little bit of difficulty understanding him the first time, but watching it a second time, I was able to pick out his dialogue.
I lost a few lines, but yeah. He wasn't as hard to understand as people claimed. Even in the trailer, I understood what he said in the trailer perfectly. I didn't know what people were bitching about.
It's more a problem when he talks down low, when he's projecting out to an audience.
Yes, he's like...
You get the full effect, but when he's... Like,
and so, Gotham, you see,
yeah,
the Batman is dead.
But then he'll hunch over to talk to someone and be like,
As well, Commissioner, what are you doing in my city?
Commissioner, huh?
I said, well, Commissioner, what are you doing in the sewer?
What?
Well, we can't allow you to leave here with the evidence that you've collected. I will kill him, and then I will kill you.
Ah, fuck it.
Yes, we're not paying you. Anyway.
What I didn't like, there wasn't much really. Okay, one thing I didn't like was I really thought that, and maybe they weren't even really trying to surprise us with this, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, it's clear immediately. Even with the trailers, when you see him, he's this cop who really cares. He's this cop who's smarter than your average dude. He's literally a great detective. He's like I've tracked where Bane is. He's here. He's in the thing, and he finds out what Bane's plan is, like with the explosive things. He puts together the construction workers thing are actually Bane's army and stuff like that. So it's really early on. They telegraph immediately, like, if there's going to be a passing of the mantle, it's going to be to this guy.
I figured he was built for something bigger than who he was. I just was trying to figure out who they were going to make him out to be. If he was just going, if they're going to play him off as Nightwing, or if they were going to
if they were going to try to do the Boy Wonder thing, yeah, that wouldn't work.
It could have went a few different ways. So
yeah.
I was just trying to figure out how he was going to ultimately end up.
Yeah. I knew pretty well. He was like, I think... And in a way, again, it almost gave away the ending, I thought, where they were like, you kind of see this character and you're like, oh, replacement Batman. So, you're either figuring the Batman is going to retire or die. And... There it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's not even a spoiler at that. I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, replacement Batman, and that's it. That pretty much, that's gonna happen. Now, that was the big thing we were talking about, is whether or not they're going to reboot the Batman franchise or they're going to keep going just without Nolan. I think they could. I think I think people are going to watch Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this movie and be like, he could do this. Like, he could be the Batman.
I know Hollywood, they are so dead scared of change. They're no different than comic book people.
Yeah, but the Nolan Batman movies make a shit ton of money. And they like that.
I see I see that, but at the same time I know that they prefer their safe security blanket.
No, that's a safe security blanket, though. I mean, if you make a movie in the style of these movies, you know, that's printing money.
They'll keep the dark tone, but I fully see them going back to good old Bruce Wayne and Alfred beating down the Joker and Two-Face.
Yeah, but you know, they really don't stop making movies like this until the profits start to die down. You know, it's one of those. That's actually one of the things that is good and bad about Hollywood is they will drive a franchise into the ground before they stop making them, before they stop, you know, making money. That's just what they do, is because they don't want to take chances on new things. And so a reboot is kind of a new thing, unless the original sucked ass, and these are really good, you know. So, you know, really I think they'll just try to get the... You know, Nolan's done, but the screenwriters for this aren't, you know, probably. So, you know, that's it. And so, you know, other things I didn't like, I thought Catwoman's character was kind of rushed, in the sense that... well, one of the main questions is, where the fuck did she learn how to fight? Because she fucking dismantles dudes.
Streets.
Yeah, the streets, sure. And although I really liked her character design, which, you know, she's basically sewn into this leather suit. I have no idea how hard it was. I mean, I'm not saying she's fat. I'm saying, like, that suit, you have to be, like, painted on. There's no one could wear that suit. But I really liked how she had, like, these goggles, which I don't think they used as much as they should have, because I guess they wanted to see her eyes. But she's got, like, these goggles that are, I guess, are night vision, and they flip up. And when they flip up, they make little cat ears, which I thought was astoundingly cute. And instead of the Michelle Pfeiffer claws, she's got, like, these insane stiletto heels that are, like, literally stilettos. They're like fucking knives. And so, like, they're like, oh, is it hard to walk on those? And she's like, no, and then starts stabbing people with them. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And I was like, I never really liked Batman Returns, even though ignorant people say Batman Returns is one of the worst ones. I won't say the worst, but probably second worst in my mind.
I need to see Forever again. I haven't seen it since the year it came out, and I remember liking it as a kid. I have no idea how I'm going to view it as an adult.
Batman Returns sucks.
Because it is goofy.
It makes no sense. That movie, no sense.
I'm not getting into this nerd war.
No, I'm not getting... You want to post comments? I will fight you on this. You want to post comments on my site defending Batman Returns? No, watch that shit again and explain it to me. Seriously. Try. Where the fuck did the Penguin get an army of fucking clowns? Where the fuck did they come from? Where the fuck did the Penguin get an army of rocket penguins? Fuck you. This movie's stupid. And then, like, the whole thing where, like, Max Schreck is, like, building a power plant that actually siphons Gotham's power surplus.
Power. Surplus. Bruce. Shame on you.
Bruce, shame on you. No such thing, power surplus. Like, the movie makes no sense.
Well, you dressed up like Batman.
That was a good scene where, like, where Gordon figures out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he's like, Bruce Wayne? And I was like, why are you dressed up like Batman? Why are you dressed up like Batman? And they should have
Catwoman right
Catwoman,
next to him.
because he is Bruce Wayne. He is Batman, you dork. Oh, one other thing I didn't like, and this was a big one. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character figures out who Bruce Wayne is, like, immediately. He's like, fucking walks to the front door, and he's like, so is Batman here? And Alfred's like, yes. And he's like, how'd you figure it out? He's like, I saw it in your eyes. I'm like, bullshit! Bullshit you did! He's like, no. He's like, my parents are dead too. He's like, and I saw it. I saw it, like, right here. And I'm like, no, you didn't! Fuck you! You couldn't have done something like he's some good detective and he figures it out somehow. I don't know, somehow, where he, like, does some, like, detective stuff. They could have done that, where, like, where he's like, you can't fool everybody all the time with this recluse shit. Like, because it's well known that Bruce Wayne goes on these insane trips and gets grievously injured several times. He's like, they could basically pull a Clark Kent with this, where they're like, just because you wear glasses doesn't mean you're fooling me. Like you're this 6'4" brick shithouse and you wear glasses. Yeah, nice. So like, they could have had some explanation other than I looked into your soul. Again, nitpick. I admit that. It's one nitpick in an otherwise really great movie. But otherwise, I liked everyone in this. I like how Gordon has matured as a cop to the point where a lot of this story is about Gordon, where he's built this city essentially on a lie, and he can't take it anymore because he says people deserve the truth. They don't deserve to be lied to. Even though years ago he was like, we gotta do this thing, but he's basically sick of them. He's sick of the city praising this guy who almost shot his kid in the head. He's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this guy tried to kill my family. I'm not going to say he's a fucking saint because he was an asshole. So, I really liked how there was a character arc for basically everybody. How, Officer Blake still sees things in very black and white, like Batman. So really great. I thought that the ending battle scene where the cops faced Bane's army was amazingly well done. I thought that was great, especially when Batman, I think maybe the first time you ever see Batman in daylight. If I were to watch this, I think it's the first time you see him in daylight. There's
I'll
a
have to
scene,
think about that.
and really there's only one scene where you see him in good lighting, and that's in the original Dark Knight, where you see him in the bank vault, where you actually see him in like decent lighting. But yeah, I was actually surprised to see that Batman kind of came out in the middle of the day to fight Bane. But that's kind of the arc where, like, Batman, he's kind of on his last mission here. He knows this, and he's going to lead these people. He's going to be a leader to Gotham City and show these people what they got to do to fight people like this. And so there's closure on so many scores here. They settle like everything. Well, okay, I'll get to that. But there's closure on the Ra's al Ghul thing, which was the thing that made him. There's tie-ins to Bane, and there's they kind of settle that. Liam Neeson comes back, which is a really amazing cameo. I loved it. There's closure with Gordon and Harvey Dent and stuff like that. And that actually, now that I think of closure, there's two things that don't really get closed out. Is the Joker, and now I can't remember the second one. Mainly the Joker. Oh, a Scarecrow. Because you see Scarecrow in this movie. It's mainly just, he's kind of like this really goofy role where he's like, guilty, 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 ha ha ha, So I was like, okay, that's kind of a fitting thing because, Crane in the Batman movies was always this big weasel. So I'm like, okay, I get it. But it would have been good to see something happen to Crane. And I know they shot something. I know they cut it for time. I just know they did. But it would have been good just to see like Batman just like casually punch him in the face, or Catwoman just kind of accidentally runs over him in the motorcycle, like he's crossing the street, like guilty, guilty, guilty. Yeah, what was that? I don't know, some asshole. There is kind of a glaring hole, or I won't say hole, but a void with the complete lack of mention of the Joker. Now I know you don't need to tell me why. I know why. You can't recast the character. You just can't. You can't have the character in the movie. Just can't. I don't even know what they could have done. I can't solve this one for you. But it would have been good to see some method of closure to the Joker, because again, we're dealing with this issue where Batman is done. He can't do this anymore. the mention of the Batman on the news coming back, does Joker wake up? He's like, I have a reason to live again, and he goes out there, and his only mission is to completely destroy the Batman by making him kill. So I don't know. Like maybe they could have shown something where I don't know. Where they cut this guy comes out of a cell and they're like, so what happened to the Joker? And they just like, I don't know. He's completely catatonic. He's not talking or something like that. Where but. This is where I was actually thinking there might be some wiggle room for sequels here. It's because they never wrapped up the Joker. And so, in a way, it doesn't matter. Like, Joker initially said he cared about who Batman is, but he really cares more about the cape, So, if Joseph Gordon-Levitt becomes Batman, well, he still has a reason to care because it's Batman, He's going to try to corrupt this dude, break his spirit, much in the same way Bane did. Anyway, so closing thoughts on this movie. Like, do you think people are gonna? Do you think the mixed reaction is justified? Like, if somebody said, I hated this fucking movie, I was expecting a Batman flick, and I didn't get a Batman flick. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think they're off base, or do you think they're just do you think they just don't get it, or?
I think it's because. Like I said, it's. I think it's how you go into it, and that's why I'm kind of giving the warning about it.
Yeah, honestly, I think the trailer did more damage to this movie than anything else. Like if they did, I probably could have cut together a better trailer, where they go to a news report and they say the Batman hasn't been seen in over 7 years. He's in hiding because he's killed Harvey Dent, and then they kind of focus the trailer on Gordon and Officer Blake. Again, the people go to being like, where's Batman in this movie? What the fuck? So I think
my two most enjoyable movies this year so far are Batman and Avengers, and then there's a wide space in between anything else. But they're two completely different movies. Avengers is pure enjoyment, action, fan service, just fun. And this is... it's a conclusion. It's a character study. It's completely different.
It's a much more cerebral movie, and that's weird to say considering it's a movie about Batman. But it really is a movie that deals with all these characters who have kind of been on this wild ride, and it's ending now. So you've got Alfred, you've got Bruce Wayne, and you've got Gordon, who is kind of nearing he is nearing the end of his career because they even say the mayor's going to fire him, So, and then you've got Blake, who he quickly grows disillusioned with, I won't say corruption, but the politics of the police force and how things are run in Gotham because he's seeing his boss fired, he sees that. Gordon has essentially, the guy he trusted most, he sees that Gordon has lied to the city about, the biggest thing ever, so he's become completely disillusioned. So you can see why he becomes a vigilante, Oh, by the way, who wrote the note? He sees a note with the coordinates. Was it, Bruce Wayne that did that? I don't know where that note came from. When he swings into the waterfall?
Oh.
And he's got the coordinates there?
I think... Bruce just left it to him.
He did, well, there must have been something cut there because you can almost sense the missing cut because he's got this note that leads him straight to the Batcave. And I'm like, because I was just thinking I kept thinking there'd be a scene where Blake was like, I don't know where the Batman is, but he knows where Bruce Wayne lives. So I always thought he'd kind of tear the house apart trying to find the Batcave.
I think he left it as part of his will that he left something. To Drake or Blake.
Okay, that makes it. I kept thinking there was going to be a scene Batman's in the cell. I thought he was paralyzed. There was it was not possible for Bruce to get up, and until you punched him in the spine. I honestly thought you were actually going to see a scene where Blake suits up and then fights. I don't know how it would have worked, him fighting Bane on his own. I don't know, but I was I was really expecting that scene. No, it's
I can kind of see this not being everyone's cup of tea because they're expecting an action movie, but I loved it, and I think given that people come into it with the right expectations, that they're going to like it too.
Now, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it was better than the Avengers, better or worse, because they are completely different flicks.
Completely different.
And I always...
And I enjoy them in different ways.
Now, before you say, yeah, but which one's better? When somebody says, like, what's the best movie you ever see? I get this every Q&A. What's the best movie you ever saw? What's the worst movie you ever saw? I always flake on that question because it's not as simple as that. You know, it never is. Because you've got to classify movies like that. You know, you've got to say, like, what's your favorite sad movie or what's your favorite comedy? Because it's just not a simple question as that. Because, like, bad movies. I could say movies are bad for really different reasons. You know, ineptitude, boredom.
And even though these are two superhero movies, they're completely different.
Yeah, other reasons they can be bad. They're just plain offensive. Yeah, so like The Room. You could take The Room as being like, oh, that's the worst movie I ever saw. That movie's funny though. It's just it basically is acting ineptitude in that, in that. Or boredom after last season, in terms of sheer boredom. Offensiveness, I could come up with a few, one being The Life of David Gale. That movie sucks. That is a fuck you movie, where the movie ends and you're like, fuck you. Just horrible. So,
I'd say 7 pounds, too, in terms of moral.
God, that made me, like, throw up a little.
Excellent.
I was like, oh, 7 pounds. In terms of just complete directorial witlessness, which one didn't I like more? Transformers 2 or 3? 2?
2. I
hated 2 way more. So, like, just, directorial incompetence, I'm like, oh, fucking Bark at the Moon. Oh, God. In terms of, Breaking Dawn has its own score. That is, in terms of boredom and hateful characters, that's really high on the list. If you put a gun to my head and it was like, best movie I ever saw, my answer would be really disappointing to you, because mine would be Big Trouble in Little China. You're like, what? Hey, it's just my favorite movie, my answer's never going to be as satisfactory, like, I'm never going to say, like, Citizen Kane, great movie, just not my favorite. So, yeah, I honestly think the best piece of advice I could give anyone, and that you could give anyone, because I am honestly very grateful you gave me that warning, because had you not, I might have been really thrown, and maybe upset about what I got. I'd have been so thrown I wouldn't have been able to appreciate what was going on in the movie. You gotta understand, this is not a Batman movie. It's a Bruce Wayne movie. And that's really the key. Batman's in it, but it's really about Bruce Wayne dealing with, the end of his career and the end of his life as a crime fighter. And there you go. So, last words on that one?
No.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
So, that's The Dark Knight Rises. I hope you enjoy it, because I really did. You just gotta be warned that it's a different movie than what you're expecting. So, until then, signing out. See you next time in Canada, because that's where I'm going. It's gonna be a long flight.